Back in the summer of 2016, two vets from an African animal charity were hard at work under the scorching sun in Zimbabwe's Manapools National Park. They had just finished treating one injured elephant and were now searching for two more that had been reported as wounded. The two vets, Dr. Keith Dutlow and Dr. Lisa Marabini from the Aware Trust, were no strangers to spending long hours tracking animals in the dense terrain of Zimbabwe's parks. In wildlife work, the phrase, "hurry up and wait," is often used because finding the animals usually takes far more time than actually treating them. But with their latest patient, that wouldn't be the case. Based in Zimbabwe, Africa, the Aware Trust is the only veterinary-led conservation group in the country. It focuses on wildlife care and habitat protection, offering expert help free of charge, especially when animals have been harmed by humans. Like many countries in this region, Zimbabwe faces a serious poaching crisis. To help tackle this, the organization also runs a program called Awareness, which teaches rural communities about animal health and care. This helps locals care for their own animals and builds early appreciation for wildlife. In the long run, the hope is that this understanding will steer the younger generation away from poaching. On this particular day, one of the elephants on Dutlow and Marabini's list was a bull affectionately known as Pretty Boy. The elephant had been reported on Facebook with a shoulder injury. Working alongside the Kariba Animal Welfare Fund Trust, the Aware Vets got the green light to tranquilize and treat him. Thankfully, they didn't have to wait long to come face-to-face with Pretty Boy. After a surprisingly short search, an unusually calm and gentle bull walked right up to their vehicle. But right away, the team noticed a large hole in the middle of his forehead. After confirming the wounded bull was indeed Pretty Boy, park rangers arrived to assist. But even before that confirmation, Marabini and Dutlow had already made up their minds. They were going to help him. The deep hole in his head was clearly causing him a lot of pain. Still, treating him wouldn't be easy. Bull elephants can struggle to stand again after being tranquilized, and Marabini could already see that Pretty Boy's back didn't look strong. Eventually, though, the elephant was sedated, and the vets finally discovered exactly what was wrong with him. An X-ray of his skull later revealed what they believed to be a bullet. Marabini and the team were fairly certain the poor elephant had been shot. However, the bullet was lodged too high to be fatal. Pretty Boy had been extremely unlucky to cross paths with a poacher, but in a strange twist of fate, he was lucky the shooter either had poor aim or didn't know what kind of ammunition to use. In fact, the bullet the poacher had used was far too small to bring down an elephant of Pretty Boy's size. Instead, it had bounced off his skull, causing a massive fracture, one that hadn't yet claimed his life. Now that Pretty Boy was fully sedated, the vets pressed on with their grim investigation. Dr. Dutlow began carefully probing the hole in Pretty Boy's head and removed some strange, plastic-like fragments. He soon realized they were actually shattered pieces of bone from the elephant's sinuses. Despite doing everything they could, the team wasn't able to pinpoint the bullet inside the elephant's forehead. And although the entry wound left a huge hole, it still wasn't possible to extract the bullet. Sadly for Pretty Boy, the poacher's cruel act had left the projectile permanently lodged in his skull. But as it turned out, not being able to remove it didn't mean it would kill him. Writing on Aware's Facebook page in 2016, Marabini explained, "Bullets generate so much heat that they're usually sterile when they enter organic tissue. The macerated flesh and bone the impact causes, and the communicating tract to the exterior are what cause infection in a bullet wound." This meant that while Pretty Boy's injury had triggered a serious and nearly fatal infection, the bullet itself was no longer a threat. Although the blood oozing from Pretty Boy's head was surely upsetting for the caring vets, they carried out their work with calm determination. The wound was cleaned out and flushed, then antiseptic was applied. Afterward, the team waited to see how the elephant would respond to their efforts. After about an hour, they noticed that his breathing and blood pressure had dropped and decided it was time to wake him up. To bring the bull out of sedation, the team had to administer an antidote to the tranquilizer they'd used earlier. Pretty Boy had appeared gentle and calm when he approached their vehicle, but animals can become disoriented and even dangerous when waking up from tranquilizers. The team didn't know what to expect. How would Pretty Boy behave once he regained consciousness? Later, the team returned to the spot where they had left the groggy elephant. They were anxious. What if he had vanished entirely? Would that mean he'd recovered and wandered off, or collapsed somewhere out of sight, still helpless? After all, his experience was extremely rare. Not only had a poacher targeted him, but they had actually hit him. Yet Pretty Boy had survived. In doing so, though, he'd been left with a gaping wound in his skull. As mentioned, the injury had become badly infected and caused him immense pain. Marabini recalled how strange it had been to see such a large wild animal calmly walking up to their vehicle that day. "It's like he knew we were there with the intention of helping him," she told the BBC in 2016. Pretty Boy's behavior had reassured her. The fact that he approached them so willingly made it clear just how serious his condition really was. Now that he was waking up, they weren't sure what to expect. His worst injuries had been treated, but he was likely still in pain, and possibly confused. Thankfully, once he woke up, Pretty Boy remained calm. The team left him alone and made a plan to return later. When they did, what they found gave them both comfort and concern. Pretty Boy still wasn't fully alert. He appeared dazed and disoriented, but compared to how he'd looked earlier that day, he was doing much better. Writing on the National Geographic website in 2016, Marabini described what happened when they went back to check on him. Later that afternoon, we returned to find him dozing, his face pressed against a tree as if nursing a massive hangover. We watched him in that position for about half an hour, feeling guilty that we had temporarily added to his pain, and anxious for him to start feeling better. While Pretty Boy would surely have preferred never to be shot in the first place, he's still one of the luckiest elephants on the continent. In 2011 alone, 1 out of every 12 African elephants was killed by poachers. Over a 3-year span, more than 100,000 were slaughtered. Hopefully, the courageous work of vets like Marabini and Dutlow and the entire AWARE team will help bring those numbers down in the future and save more elephants like Pretty Boy. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with your friends and family. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.